Hello, hello, hello. That's great. Yesterday I posted um my podcast and the audio was not audioing, you know. It wasn't audible, you know. So that kind of sucks. But welcome to another episode of the From Her View podcast with myself, Sade Camille. Yes, my background is looking crazy. Yes, it's because I moved. And it kind of sounds redundant to me, but new to you because I said this on yesterday's episode. And yeah, my audio was was not audible, but I should be all good today. I did my test before I started, so hopefully we're good. But I really wanted to start off the new year with a podcast and kind of just going over the things that I have planned for my new year, which consumes of doing some 12-week years of Atomic Habits. So if you've listened to previous episodes where I've done the audio banger and I talk about the 12-week year and I talk about Atomic Habits, two really great books about productivity. And I love so many components about both books that I decided to marry them and create the 12-week year of Atomic Habits. So I'm gonna basically just kind of go over my framework and what I plan on doing. And then in other episodes, I'm going to actually go through my planning process for each individual thing. So I've done some of the stuff, I haven't done everything. So I actually have to push my 12-week year back a week because I wanted to start on the 5th, but my life was like literally so chaotic that I wasn't able to do the pre planning before because, moving, so new place, new job, just so much new, and all those things that you have to do when things change and tying up loose ends. Like there's so many things I haven't done yet. I haven't changed my address with bank accounts yet, and just so many things that when you move that are integral that I have not done. But I really wanted to have this in the forefront of my mind because I think it's very important. Sometimes we let our life happen to us instead us happen to our lives. And a lot of the time we assume a more victim type mindset where we get into a very Eeyore state of mind where we think that we cannot control the things that happen to us. And you're right, because God's in control. Okay? But we do have an opportunity to be stewards of our time. And the only thing that we really can control or play a part in is our mindset and what we meditate on. So if we meditate on the word that is written in our hearts, then we're good. But if we have other things written in our hearts, then that's where the turmoil starts to happen. And so I really wanted to come up here and just go over my framework. So, in the 12-week year, the whole basis of that book is saying that there is really nothing all too special about January 1 or December 31st. It's just a date, and that people usually use January 1 and December 31st as key indicators for really doing a sprint and kind of trying to tie up loose ends and doing all those things. And so they actually do the most production in a short amount of time. So they took that premise and kind of saw that and was like, okay, well, how can we make the most of that? What are some of those things that you do when it's crunch time? Well, if we set up a plan and a system in the 12-week year, we're able to then have more control of the things and take more stock of our time and being able to put forth more effort to the things that we say that we want. And that's the power of planning. So when I was little, I used to like to journal. I used to like to write and everything like that, like a doodler. I love a good mind map and everything like that. And I used to teach, and it was something that I would have to do every day, right, to help others. And then once I stopped teaching, it was kind of just like something I really didn't like doing. And now I'm back in my administrative bag where I am, have been journaling, writing things down, little notes, little tidbits here and there, and I keep them. And you will definitely find little scratch papers of it's not gibberish, it's actually genius written down. And I have one right here I'm looking at with like doodles, but like it's something that popped in my mind at a moment, or I heard something, or whatever the case may be, and I was quick enough to write it down. So I have those things, but the way that I'm doing my framework is a little bit different from the book. And it does take a lot from Atomic Habits. So with Atomic Habits, I love the title of the book because it's kind of like a double entendre, triple entendre, right? Because you think of, well, double entendre, because you think of an atom, you think of like an atomic bomb, and you're like, whew, like how big and impactful that it can be. But also, an atomic habit, an atom is actually the most smallest of elements. Like when you take this pencil and you break it down and you look at it under a microscope, microscopically, we can look at it to its smallest being, which is an atom. And that's everything, right? So he's saying that if you take a habit as small as an atom, over time, yes, it will have an atomic type of effect on your life. And so I was like, okay, cool, bet, love all that. But his whole premise in his book is people set the goals, which 12-week years talks about the goals, and they talk about action steps too. But he's like, can you shift your mind from action steps per se and formulate habits? How can I get into the habit of doing this thing to the point that it becomes second nature? So when people are like New Year's resolutions, I'm actually not focused on New Year resolutions. I'm focused on new mindset and new habits for a lifelong type effect. And that's where the 12-week year comes about. So I have the framework. It goes a little something like this. I go like this, like something's gonna pop up on the screen, and maybe if I edit it all nice and fancy, there will be, but there currently is nothing gonna pop up on this screen. But um, the way that it's set up is I have 5 categories. And so each of these categories are areas of focus that you want to take into the 12-week year. So a mistake that I made before is in the 12-week year, they really don't do 5 categories per se. It's like career, family, your business, like it's less categories. So I do have a little bit more categories, but they say you can, they give you generalizations, things to work with. But the mistake that I was doing is that I was doing too many goals. So I had too many categories, and I was trying to do 3 goals per category. And it just kind of was very inundating and overwhelming. So I will suggest for your first time out, do one, max 2. Or if you're going to do, multiples, you could probably do multiple in one area, but then dial back in another area just for what you can accomplish, because we are going to be tracking this. There is going to be metrics and data, and it's all about almost like going to school, right? You kind of want to get a good score, but not only that, it's helping you build habits. And I've done the 12-week year in the past, not like this fully, like towards the end of last year, excuse me, I did do this, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys, I'm gonna give you the play by play. And it was like, oh my God, this was happening, that was happening. And I just wasn't recording, I wasn't documenting it. But I did get some of the outcomes and everything like that. So I really want to go into the detail of it because I think it's going to be very helpful if you're ready for a change. Not, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds, but like, no, like you want a lifelong change. Like you want to be able to live a healthy life. You want to have better relationships with people. You want to expand your knowledge. You want to be more the person that you see in your head. You want them to kind of come to life in a sense. So, my five categories are going to be faith, family, future, fitness, and finance. Kind of in a particular order, not really in a particular order, but faith and family are my top two. For my faith category, it is about me getting closer in my relationship with God. So I have had success in it. And you're like, girl, like, why are you measuring that? Why are you tracking that? Because your relationship with God is just like any other relationship. And we have to kind of like, I don't want to say demystify it or whatever, but we have to stray away from religion and think about it as a relationship. Like this is a God that communicates. This is a God that has thought. This is a God that speaks. This is a God that acts. And so, how would you feel if a person claimed to love you and they didn't spend time with you? They weren't intentional about that. There's a lot of, you know, people in general, like I was going to say girls, but people in general who, their love language is quality time. And who do you think love language is that? God. God wants to give you that quality time. God desires that from us too. And so I have been consistent in that. So one of my things that I wanted to do is like consistently be in my word every single day. And I was in my word digitally, but I have this feeling in my spirit that I definitely need to get like a study Bible or like a journal type Bible. I have traditional Bibles, but I normally use my Bible app because it's like, girl, you always have your phone. So that's where the habit came into play. Girl, you always got your phone, so there's no excuse. You better download that YouVersion Bible app and get into your word. So getting into your word is not just reading the verse of the day, y'all. Like it just started with like a chapter at a time, and you don't have to start in any specific place. But I was watching some podcasts, and one of the people on there was like, I would recommend like a story because there are certain things where the stories kind of like help, right? Because you can start to play the movie in your mind and it becomes a little bit real, and then you're locked in, you're tied into it. So starting even in the New Testament, I can't remember where I started. I think I probably started in the New Testament, probably somewhere in there. I honestly cannot remember off the top of my head where I started, but that is what I would recommend. You starting somewhere where there is a story and just start with a chapter a day. So I was starting with like a chapter a day. If the story was getting real good and the spirit was speaking, I was reading like three. But it's just for me to get into that relationship with him. And so I would read, and then I would have my conversation with him, and then sometimes it would vary, and it's varying for everybody. Like how he speaks, it varies for all of us. So how he was speaking to me before is not necessarily how he's speaking to me now, because the communication style can change, but he's ultimately wants for us to be able to hear his voice in everything, right? So it's almost like I had a friend, and oftentimes she would text me from her husband's phone. And I would know it was her by the language or whatever she was asking. I knew it was her. And I was like, girl, where are you texting me from this man's phone for? Like, we're having a whole like kiki conversation in this man's phone, whatever. And that's how it is with God. Like, you'll be able to tell by the conversation. It doesn't matter if where it's coming from, you'll know that it's his voice, if that makes sense. So you'll understand, like, okay, there's certain things that he does say, there's certain things that he doesn't say, and you'll begin to understand. And so that is the whole thing that I'm working through in my relationship. So that is why faith is a part of the category, because I think it is very important that God is your center. And I just want to go deeper in that. So, some of the goals, because the 12-week year of Atomic Habit, the systems that we're creating, the systems is the GPS, the goal is the destination. So, how I like goals that I'm setting up for myself, still in the faith realm, is like honoring him in my gifts. So there are certain things that I used to do. Like, I used to draw, I used to be into portraits. I used to love portrait drawing because I was like, it's either right or it's wrong. It's no in between. It either looks like that person or it doesn't. And it was something that I really did enjoy doing. And when I was deeply into things of being a teenager and a goofy, I kind of just really stepped away from it. Like, when I was in junior high, I was part of art club and we did murals. And I used to work at a place, and we did mosaic art and painting and things like that. And it's something that I enjoy, being a creative. So that's why my previous career, being a cosmetologist, being able to create and do those type of things, dexterity things, and like beautifying things. So I do find pleasure in the podcast because I'm still creating, I'm still making something, I'm still using a gift that he's been cultivating in me for a very, very long time. I'm still using that gift, but it's also he's giving me so many other things as well, and I'm not using them. So that is a part of it. So spending more time with him, going deeper with him, and yeah. So the next one is going to be family. And it was so funny because I was talking about this yesterday, but in my podcast that had zero audio. But I was talking about this. So for family, I want to guide my children also in this 12-week year process, the 12-week year of Atomic Habits. So helping them get their transition from into young adulthood. So when I was a young adult, I didn't have this. These books were not around. Nobody had this together. It wasn't packaged this way. They weren't teaching you these things in school per se in this format. So now that I have amassed the information that I have amassed over the course of 6 years, so it's not like it's been 20 years. Like, no, it's been 6 years time, give or take 4 or 5, right? Where I've amassed a lot of information, a lot of skill set, a lot of things that I've really been dialed into. And I'm like, okay, this works. Like, I've tried it and it works. And I want to be able to package it and deliver it to them and go over the system in its entirety and help them in that area. Because once I level up, it's only right to give it to my children, and they are going to be further along than me at the age that I currently am, right? Hopefully my kids will be you know, traveling and living their best lives and doing, you know, creative things and running companies and just doing things that they love. And I think it's very possible for them to do that, and I speak that into them every single day. So, aside from that, I also want to spend more intentional time with my extended family. So, I've done my 12-week year in the past where I was like, okay, I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to spend more time with my kids. Where it went to the point where which I still might do a little something like this, but I also want to challenge myself to kind of work on the fly. But previously, I would literally schedule in my phone, in the calendars in my phone, have an alarm set for, okay, this day is the day that I'm spending with this child, and they're getting 100% of my time for this amount of uh, hours, doing whatever it is that they want to do, me just spending time with them. It's something that my parents did with me and my siblings maybe once or twice when we were kids. And mind you, my mom and my dad had 5 kids between the two of them, or 5 kids in our home, but like 6 or 7 kids between the two of them. So a lot of kids. But they tried to do that, whenever it allotted them, which, 5 and 2 kids is very, I only got 2, so it's very different. So I should be able to do those things. And now with my daughter working and not necessarily having a set schedule and stuff like that, just making the most of those moments in time and being more present and intentional, right? So I did that, good with that, and now I can level up from it being stringently scheduled to taking a hold of those moments day by day. And we are at the point where, since moving and everything like that, we've spent some of the most time together that I've spent together as a family in a long time, since I got divorced, that it just feels like so amazing. So you do get great benefits from this process. Like, it takes a lot of time, like planning it out and being intentional and coming up with the steps and everything like that, because there is no how do there isn't, but you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. So, but one of the things I want to do is spend more intentional time with my extended family. So it was funny because I was like, I want to do that more. And then I spent the morning just like texting and laughing with my sisters, or like I had said that in that podcast. And then one of my sisters had texted me and I was just cracking up about it. But spending more time with them, I was so heavily focused on spending time with my children only and not really growing and nurturing the relationships that God saw fit for me to be born into. I have wonderful siblings, talented, educated, intelligent siblings, and I really want to take advantage of just being around more and creating those memories and having something to laugh at. You know what I mean? Because we grew up and we were like sheltered. Like our mom had us in the house, and there's nothing wrong with that to a degree, right? But it's like we spent so much time together. We was just like, look, we ain't got to be around each other no more. Deuces. But now that we're like older, we have families of our own. We understand the value of a village, and especially our mother not being around, we we need to come together and be the glue for our family. So even though the glue is gone, we need to find a way of how to be the glue and just move forward as a family. And so I want to take a personal step and do my best to reach out and text just cuz and see, hey, when can we get together to do something and just get those conversations sparked, because it's important. And it starts with, like, obviously my extended immediate family, meaning like my siblings, but I think it should extend further out to my plethora of cousins that live, an hour away to a completely different state. But, going to my family reunion, I haven't been to one in such a long time. Like, those are some of the things I want to accomplish in the Gregorian year. Because my family reunion is nowhere near this time, but it's something that I want to be strategic and plan ahead for that. So we have our faith, our family, and then we have our finance. Um, so with finance, I have very specific goals. So just a little backstory about that. Budgeting and planning and whatnot, like that was all very, it wasn't new to me because I did like notice like my mom would like do certain stuff here and there, but like it took me getting divorced, having to move out. I didn't have to move out, but me moving out and like living on my own with my kids and everything like that for me to like really like hunker down on like how to manage finances because I'm great at making money. Like, thank you, Lord. Like, she can make some money, but the problem was with like as much money I was making, I was spending more than I was making. How do you do that? I don't even know. But um, now I found budgeting and like I was before I was doing like a monthly like overview budget or whatever, but now I found the budget by paycheck method, and I was really never into the cash method, so cashless, because going to the bank is like such a mental hassle for me. I can't, I don't know, I can't do it. So one of the things that I want to do is to save a third to a fourth of my income per month, in either saving and investing. But I also want to be very aggressive with paying down debt. So I plan to pay off at least two credit cards while aggressively saving and investing. It's it's extremely important. Just finding ways for your money to get pregnant and multiply, and so really doing that, getting my kids set up in the routine of that. So that are my two goals for financing, is heavily invested and saved, and then heavily paying down debt. Then we have our future. So for the future, obviously, I'm still in college, so finishing that out. I really want to challenge myself. This is actually a really good idea. It just kind of like popped in my head, but I really want to accelerate my program. And I tried in the past and it was such a fail. And it was such a fail because I just didn't plan for it, right? It sounded good and I didn't plan for it. And so I'm really thankful now that I'm kind of like set up in a way where I'm like, if I can do it altered a little bit, like I'll try that again. But I saw a YouTube video about people creating their own curriculums, and like I call YouTube University all the time, but people are actually creating curriculums for themselves, playlists for themselves, and starting new hobbies or picking up skill sets that they've always desired. And the information is out there. Now they have the opportunity to learn it. So I made a list I don't have it in front of me right now, but I made a list, and two of those things would be I want to get more fluent in Spanish. So yo hablo español un poquito, but yo necesito ayúdame. Por favor, no personas en mi casa hablan español. Es muy difícil. Yo, yo, yo comprende, pero no hablar. Yeah, yeah. I understand, and I can't always respond to what you're saying, or I'll understand half of it, or yeah, it just don't be, or I will not use the correct, you know what I mean? And people correct me all the time. You think I would learn by now, but I don't. So like I'll be talking to a guy and I'll be like, yo necesita or yeah, I would say something like that and be like, yo necesito, like, the male, female, nosotros, nosotras, nosotra, like all of that, babes. It's a lot. It's a lot because like English is similar, right? Where, you know, we have pronouns, so it's similar. But we only really have words like that are gender specific depending on who you're talking to. Yeah, it's just different. It's just different. And I was dabbling and learning a little bit of French too. And French is even more complex for me. I think I should have tried like Spanish and Italian because they're kind of similar, and I think that learning Spanish and Italian would help understand different variations of Latin Spanish because every country's dialect is just a little bit different, right? And I think that would help, but you know, ça va. My thing with French is you could have like a, a whole like conversation and it's like four letters or like two words and it's just it's kind of like difficult. I don't know. Like okay, mon mère is like my mother, mon père, my father, um, L, girl, and stuff like that. But I forgot. I can't even remember off the top of my head. It's just kind of hard to have them all like swirling in my head like that. But yes, languages. I want to get a little bit better with my languages. So that's something that I'm challenging myself to do too. So I feel like creating a curriculum around that, also picking up another hobby. So I want to start sewing, more specifically like upcycling and like knitting and crocheting. Like I want to, create things that I have use for. Me and my family, we love thrifting, so the upcycling, doing all that stuff, like that is a perfect setup. So those would be my my things for future. So continuing with college and then setting myself up with a curriculum, but more specifically we're going to be starting with languages, and if I can add more things into that, then I will. But for right now we're going to be focusing on learning Spanish a lot better. And then we have our fitness. Child, our fitness. So, with all this moving and everything like that, I haven't been to the gym in like 2 months, and it's been rough because it's always rough getting restarted after you've been on a break. It's like the worst trying to restart, and it's also worse because like because I moved, like I had to move gyms. And you think it's not that important, but when you are not a club goer anymore and your club is your gym club, okay, it is it it matters. So I am a luxury gym girly, so a lifetime gym girly, and the nearest one is like a half hour away from me. And you would think like, oh, like that's not that bad, like that's cool, whatever. Like I watch like TikToks and stuff like that, and these ladies is like, oh yeah, I drive 45 minutes to go to the gym, and I'm like, go to the gym just because I when I map out my time, it is not, I have room for flexibility, but it's like, okay, all in all, with commute, okay, like I tell you, so I, in order to effectively do everything that I need to do in a workout session, it requires an hour and a half to 2 hours of the gym for me. It just does. It just does. If I'm trying to do everything exactly like how I'm doing now, if I am, and it varies, right? So I want to try to do 5 days, but I think I'm just gonna have to do 3 days and then increase a day, the more like consistent. Like I don't want to set myself up to fail or whatever, but I also want to, do what I need to do. Um, but if I were doing my 3 days a week, yeah, it's like 2 hours. So I'm in my head, I'm like, that is a 3 hour block of time. And then I'm like, okay, where am I going to get a 3 hour block of time? Like, how am I going to fit out 3 hours out of my day? Like, I work full time. So what does that look like? And it's a little bit more nuanced in that too, because my kids also like working out and going to the gym. So it's like, okay, how am I going to get back to my house from wherever I'm at and then take a 3 hour block of time? So I typically like my gym to be under 10 minutes away from me. It just works out better, because if I have to swing home, okay, cool, it's a 10-minute commute from my house. And then if I am coming from work, I gotta come this way anyway, it's 10 minutes away from my house, you feel me? So it's like it's always close to home base, and I can do that. And so then it takes 3 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes. Well, see, I can work with that. And then I can be like, okay, well, I'm only gonna do an hour and a half, so that's 140. Okay, I could work with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, or else I'm gonna have to do like supersets and hit, which it's nothing wrong with supersets and hit or whatever, but it's just like I like being at the gym, so if I'm doing like a superset or a hit, like that means I can't do my cardio like I need to be doing it. You know what I mean? I already dislike cardio as it is. You know what I mean? But also I am up in age where the cardio needs to be cardioing. And I want to get myself up to the point where I can like, do a 5K or 3K, or, like run on the treadmill and stuff like that. Like right now, like the most you're going to get out of me is like an inclined walk, which is still really good, right? But I'm trying to train like an athlete. Like I'm trying to get and be more athletic and stuff like that. So it was long-winded, that one, for whatever reason, but yes, that's what I'm trying to do. So that would be one of them. So I already found a gym that's closer. That was one of the things that was part of last year's 12-week year of Atomic Habits, is finding a gym that's closer. I still might keep the other gym membership for myself, um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Because hear me out, because my sister also goes to that gym, and so I was when they okay, so let me just give you the story, girl. So I was going to a completely different gym before Lifetime. I was going to Export, and I really loved the gym because like I had like personal training sessions, and I was just cool with everybody that worked there. So it was literally like a family. Like they're holding me accountable, everything like that. Like it was real tight knit. It was really cool. They got bought out by another gym and shut down, so there's no more exports. They're LA Fitness is, and the vibe was just not the same. Like our little family got dispersed and thrashed in the wind because yes, the other gym took it over, but they took it over. They changed the hours and they eventually just closed my location. So I was like, oh my god, well, Lifetime is literally 3 minutes away from my house. So I was driving past it to go to this other gym for economical purposes. Just like, oh, girl, I ain't got the funds to be paying for that. And God was faithful in that because He really was pressing me, just like, girl, just go there. And I was like, no, like I don't got it, but God got it. And so I went, been there for a year, and loved it. But one of the key things was my sister had the membership at Lifetime, and then she had got rid of it because she wasn't consistently. I think she said she wasn't consistently going, or some whatever, for whatever reason she wasn't going no more. And I was like, hey, like I'm thinking about getting a membership here. Like if I get a membership here, are you gonna get yours back so we could do classes? She was like, yeah. We did one class together, but she's been consistently going, getting the gains, doing great. Me, not so much. But I still want to be able to, bring that into like my family, like where I'm like, okay, I'm making strides to spend intentional time. So whether it be working out and then doing something with all of our kids together afterwards. So that's kind of partly why I want to keep the membership. And at that rate, I think that the moments outweigh the cost. And I feel like God will make it happen where the cost will be covered, and I won't bat an eye and I won't think twice about it. So that is one of my goals. Also, getting back to meal planning, meal prepping. So when I would do the meal prepping, I would prep actually for the whole family, which was really nice because it was like my kids would get home from school, go in the fridge. There's already meal packed. So I think I was doing like maybe 2 to 3 entrees, 2 breakfasts, and then just having a lot of fruit and trail mix. And that's kind of like how I was doing it, and and protein shakes and protein bars and stuff like that. And it really just worked for my family. Just way more efficient, honestly. And my son, who does the kitchen, especially loved it because it's like all you're doing is cleaning out these containers versus, and I'm cooking a big batch of everything at once, and everything is all measured out, and it was just better, and it helped us not have to think about what we're going to eat and not feeling that dread of, oh, I have to cook when I get home. So getting back to that, so those are the 5 areas, my 5 pillars, for my 12-week year of Atomic Habits, and then those are the things I want to focus on. So for my faith, is spending more intentional time with God and honoring Him in the gifts that He's given me. For my family, it would be spending time teaching my kids how to structure themselves with a 12-week year of Atomic Habits, and then also spending intentional time with my extended family. And then we have our finances, so heavily investing and saving at least a third to a fourth of, or a fourth to a third of my monthly income, and then paying down two debt credit cards, paying off two credit cards completely. And then we have, with the future, continuing to finish school and then learning Spanish and seeing, really testing those things out and seeing how having two curriculums going on for myself, if that's something that I can handle. And then I will add double courses for college to kind of like streamline that process. And then for fitness, it would be, the goal is 5 days a week, right? But the way that I'm seeing the writing on the wall, I'm gonna have to say 3 days a week of consistently working out every single week, and getting my steps in. So I think with work will help me kind of get some of those steps in. That's a one I like threw in there, but that's an easy thing. Check on your watch. That, and then get back to meal prepping for my family. So that is my framework for my 12-week year of Atomic Habits. There's a load of other things as well that I didn't really get to touch on per se. There's some other things that I'm incorporating as well, but they kind of fall in they're an extension, they are a part of my life, so it has to happen type deal. But just getting better in those areas. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and then I hope that you take the time to think about your 5 areas of focus for yourself, and then some goals that you want to hit, and then start formulating that plan or that GPS, those directions to get you to where you need to go. So this has been another episode of the From Her View podcast. Happy New Year. I'll see you around.